I had just moved out to Balbriggan because my family are from Coolock.
I came from Eritrea.
I originally was born and reared in Coolock.
I come from Zimbabwe. That was where I was born.
They came from everywhere. At the very beginning, the coaches used to go to the airport and to Dún Laoghaire to bring the people that came on the boat and the planes to Mosney.
It was a bit like any kind of holiday, I guess foreign holiday that they would have had in the 90s. Like there was day clubs where you went and you played games, and it was literally just, you know, a sports hall with like basketballs and ropes.
Talent competitions, fancy dress, dance competitions for them then as well. Did the swimming pool. It was just such, I couldn't believe how good it was.
Each year they used to do community games where people from all over Ireland used to come in, and it was a more festive environment.
For community games, even us, going here from Balbriggan, it could be 2 hours on that road to try to get onto Mosney Road. So it kind of started to go downhill, and then of course it became cheap to go to Spain and Portugal and everywhere else, you know. And then the children that went, we'll say for years and years, they had grown up then, so Mosney wasn't any real attraction to them.
I felt it should have never closed down, and as I said, for the area around it, it brought great employment.
We left Zimbabwe because at that point there was a little bit of like economic turmoil. Politics became quite heavily involved in that, and yeah, there was just a lot of violence that was happening at that point, and my mom felt like it was no longer safe for us to live in Zimbabwe anymore, so then we left.
Better life conditions, you know. We thought Ireland would be a good place to settle down. My family did anyway. I lived in Mosney for a little less than 2 years, a year and a half, I'd say.
Mosney was not the first place we went to. We actually went to one that they use for arrivals that come to Ireland. It's called Balseskin. It's in Finglas, if I'm correct. In Kinsale, there was another one out there, and then a few months later, we were then moved to Mosney. That was like the final place that we lived for about 2 years. To be honest, because I was a child, I think for the most part, it was quite nice being there, because you were also around other children from different countries. We were quite closed off from the Irish society though, because obviously it's the center and it's like guarded.
Because you're living in Ireland, yeah, you're also excluded from living in Ireland, if that makes sense. You're only living in Ireland when you go to school, and then you get a sense of like you're in a different country or you're living in Ireland. But when you come back, you're surrounded with people you're more familiar with, or people who are in the same boat as you, so you kind of feel like a home. I'd say the hardest thing would have been sense of being alone. For my parents and my elder siblings, I'd say they would have missed their family, friends.
For the older people, obviously it's a complete different ball game, because from these countries you're having all these mad educated, like intellectual people that have actually had businesses, had lives before, that are coming into Ireland asking for help. They get the help, but it's not a very constructive type of help. Temporarily it's perfect, but for long term it's not. So you end up having these people that are in there for 4 or 5 years, sitting in the direct provision center doing nothing. There was, older men like going crazy because they can't go out and work and support for their families, and you're getting €19 per week given to you, your food is given to you, that kind of way. And yeah, you definitely seen some people that had mental breakdowns in there, and like it was a struggle for a lot of people because they can't provide for themselves. Your kids are going into school, they're wearing like, shoes from Pennies, they're seeing their classmates wearing like lovely Nikes and just little things like that, people getting PlayStations for Christmas, you're getting socks. I could imagine how it made them feel that they couldn't provide those, nice things and, luxuries, or just, your basic needs. We knew we're not Irish, first of all. We definitely knew that. I guess for a lot of people, it was just about trying to fit into Irish society. But obviously when you're in that box, there's nothing you can really do. You just kind of get on with it. You know who you are and yourself, and you're just with your family or your friends.
I have 2 friends that stayed there for about 6 years, and they were sick of it, basically. They wanted to live outside, they wanted to, work, and also their friends kept leaving and they were staying there.
You miss the people that you saw there, even like the people that worked there, Dolores, the other kids that you knew, and you see them on Facebook and you see how grown up they are and how like, it's so odd, right? Because you're in this place and everyone has all these mad accents, right? And then you grow up and then you sound like this, and it's the weirdest thing ever. When you really look back and you think about it and you really deep it, and in a way it's cool, but it's also really fucked up because you do lose your identity. It's such a challenge, really, because you are trying to fit into Irish society, but as well you have this really strong background of like where you come from, and then you're trying to balance these 2 cultures and basically come up with your own culture. Because if I go back to Zimbabwe now, I can't relate with all my mates that I was in school with. They'll look at me like what are you on about? Do you know what I mean? My struggle is not their struggle at all. And then to Irish people, yeah, I'm Irish, but it's always the black Irish girl. Do you know what I mean? There's always gonna be another thing attached to my Irishness. So I now have to figure out how to define my own identity as an Afro-Irish person.